Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. I just wanted to come in today because I had been thinking about this last week. Well, one, I want to change him, put him into something cooler. And also I was thinking about the topic of taking our babies out, taking our dolls out in public. And, do we let people know their dolls? Do we not let people know their dolls? Well, I just really want to share a little story. This isn't an opinion piece. I mean, I really personally feel to each his own, whatever, to everybody's own comfort level, whatever you're comfortable with is what's good. So whatever works for you. But for me, I felt like the only way to know was by actually doing it. I don't think there's any way to know whether or not you would be comfortable with taking your doll out in public unless you actually take your doll out in public. You're not going to know what it's like. You're not going to know what type of situations you're going to run into. I mean, yes, I get that we can all make videos and we can talk about those things, but you're really not going to know firsthand what it feels like or how your reaction is going to be. So in order for anyone to form, I think, or to give an opinion on that, you really have to do it. Even if it's just in a sling, walking your dog around the neighborhood. That was like my very, very first outing. I put my doll in a sling, took him for a walk around the neighborhood with my dog, and that was it. And it was like 6:30 o'clock in the morning. So on like a Sunday morning and nobody was around. So that was like my first toe dip in the pool of Reborn outings. I also, as I took them out to more places, a lot of the public places that I did take my dolls out to were places like the Grove in LA, to the American Girl doll store with my family. And I also had to consider how the comfort level of my brother and his family, and all of them are very accepting of my doll hobby and my doll collecting. So I did take their feelings and their comfort level into consideration. So it wasn't something like, that I just pretty much forced on them. So they were okay with that. So I did a couple outings to the American Girl doll store. And I had taken my Denver Rose, and she's super hyper realistic. The fluffy hair, the painting, nobody knew she was. In fact, people thought I was out and about after just giving birth. So I had people giving up their seats so that I could sit down. And when it got to that point, because people are like giving up their seats, and I was reluctant to take it, but it got to that point, I was like, okay, should I tell them? Am I really comfortable with having to explain when I'm just out to enjoy for my own enjoyment and not really out to advertise what I'm doing? So for me, it's a very private thing, even when I'm out in public. So I'd been to the American Girl doll store. My daughter and I did an outing during Christmas, which came out to be a really nice video. There's this huge, giant Christmas tree near where I live, and they do artificial snow because where I live in Southern California it doesn't snow, so except for in the mountains. So they do the artificial snow to give you that whole traditional feeling of a Northern Hemisphere Christmas. And so we took our Saskia, which was a bigger baby, and we had them all dressed up. And there was a point by the Christmas tree that I was taking pictures of my daughter with her Mika, her Saskia doll, by the giant Christmas tree. And this couple came along and they said, we'll take a picture of all three of you. They thought that Mika was real. They thought he was a real baby. They didn't do any double takes or act weird or anything like that. They just assumed he was real. And I refused the photos because I knew that the longer that they stared at us and the longer that they stared at him, they were going to run into that creepy feeling. And that creepy feeling is something that I actually there's a word for it. And it's something that I've used as a hashtag for a long time on my videos. the uncanny valley effect. Now, the uncanny valley effect is a split moment where you see something that is human-like, and we'll just take the Reborn dolls for this example, that it's so realistic that your mind is tricked for like a split second. And in that moment, when you realize that this in fact is not a real human and it's not a real person, you know, it's just not alive, you get a creepy feeling. So that is the uncanny valley effect. And it's just, the feeling doesn't last for a long time. It exists in moments, in like seconds. And you guys should look into it. There's a lot of information about it. A lot of us get that feeling when we see the high-tech robotics that are being created. There was that robot that was just given citizenship, I think, in Saudi Arabia. I don't remember her name. And, you know, with the artificial intelligence becoming smarter and smarter and being able to hold conversations, it creates that what we call, which a lot of us don't have a word for it, but we just feel creeped out, or fascinated, a creepy fascination, I guess. I've used that word before, those two words together before. So when I go out, I'm not like, my intentions aren't to create that feeling on people. My intentions are not to educate people. My intentions are really just for my own enjoyment, for my fun. I have fun picking out the clothes that they're going to wear. I have fun putting them in a stroller. But it also has its downside. And one of its downsides is that lugging around a fake baby is just as bad as lugging around a real baby, a real newborn baby. You need to have blankets. Probably you're not going to need to have to feed it or anything like that. So that's kind of one of the perks of it being a doll and not an actual baby. There's not going to be any real diaper changes. There's not going to be real bottle feeling, unless that's something you'd like to do out in public and it's something that is part of your role play and part of the fun that you're having. Perfectly fine. I myself don't want to do all that. That's just too much work. Too much work. I did it with 3 kids, and one of the appeals of one of the appealing factors, or one of the appeals of having a reborn doll is really the no fuss. The fact that they're not real babies. You don't have to feed them. You don't have to change their diapers. They're not going to fuss on an airplane. They're not going to get grumpy on a car ride. None of that. And if you get tired and it's too hot to hold them, like I got tired at the American Girl doll store, I went back to the car, wrapped her up. Good thing it was, they have at the Grove, it's all covered parking. So it's garage parking. So the car would remain cool. So I wrapped them up. And I've taken Stellan and my Denver Rose. Not at the same time, but at different times. And I just wrap them up when it got too hot and didn't want to hold them in a sling anymore. Even though they're vinyl, it still gets warm to have an extra layer of something all over your shoulder and chest. So that particular day, they always seem, it's always warm down here. So, yeah, so those are kind of the reasons why I go out with my dolls, if I do. But I always want to know if it's like going to be cumbersome to do so, because I just want to be comfortable and have fun. People will automatically think these dolls are real. I haven't had one person question whether or not my dolls were real. In fact, they don't hesitate. They don't like go, is that doll real? You know, they don't even glance. They'll be like, oh, cute baby, you know, and then just move on. They go on along their day. There's no shock. They probably don't even realize that it was a doll. I don't get any double takes or weird looks. So because of the manner that I take them out. But there was this one time, and this is the story I wanted to share, that I took one of my reborns to the farmer's market because I wanted to make a video to share with you guys, like an outing, because I know people like outing videos. So I wanted to make a video that showed some parts of California, because those are the kind of videos I like to watch. I like to see other places in the world, you know, and what your neck of the woods look like. And so I took him out to the farmer's market. I had him in a sling, and the farmer's market is between like 7 in the morning till 12 at noon. So I got there really early to avoid the crowds and record peacefully, because that's another thing for me. I'm not always comfortable vlogging in public. I've done it, and I've gone to the point where nobody really cares that you're vlogging in public, because so many people do it now, so no one really cares when you're doing it. They may take a double take and go, oh, they're vlogging, because I've seen people vlogging in public, and I do a double take, but then I go on about my way. I don't bother them, I don't stop them, and equally no one's ever done that to me. So I'm at the farmer's market. I got my baby in a sling. I'm, you know, buying my empanadas, looking at the flowers and all the cute stuff that they have for sale, all the craft, handmade stuff. And then I hear my name. And I'm like, I like totally froze too. I was like, okay, somebody just called my name. And in my mind, I was actually thinking, oh, okay, so I turn around, and it's somebody that I know. And this person is actually not my friend. It's a friend, a really good friend of my ex-husband's. And he starts to chat me up like crazy. It wasn't just a hello. I ended up talking to him for like 20 minutes with that baby in my sling. Just, you know, oh my gosh. And I didn't know when he was going to stop talking to me. You know, he starts telling me how he had surgery. He starts telling me about how his wife was doing, asking how I'm doing, how are my kids, long time no see, we went to Cancun, blah, blah. So you get it, right? And the whole time I'm sweating bullets, not just because it was hot, but because I was like embarrassed. And I'm like, you know, it's different if it's going to be somebody that you don't know, because you can just walk away from them. But it's somebody that you know, you have some explaining to do. We do, okay? So I finally got to a point, it got to a point in the conversation where I felt like there was a break, and I could comfortably say, okay, well, you know, it was really nice. It was really nice to see you. Say hi to, you know, your wife for me, and take care. And it wasn't over. He asked if he can walk with me. He's like, oh, I'll walk with you. And around the farmer's market. And I was like, oh, I'm vlogging. And I didn't want to tell him either that I was vlogging. Oh, and this is, I forgot to tell you guys, this was actually the most, the part that made me sweat the most was when we said hello, he came in for a hug. And I had a baby sling with my Reborn doll on my chest. Okay, it was one of those slings that go from your shoulders to your waist, so I had the baby right there. He never once flinched. He never once asked me what I had. Didn't even notice that there was a doll there. I didn't see his look going down to my sling. I honestly believe when I look back on when I think back on the event, I honestly think that he probably thought it was just a shopping bag. That it wasn't anything else, like maybe I had like produce in there or something. And you can kind of see the top of the baby's head. So let me get back to the part where he tells me he wants to walk around with me. And at that point I realize I'm going to have to be assertive, and it's going to be unpleasant, and I'm just going to have to tell him, well, you know, I'm busy and I'm kind of doing something. I just told him, you know, well, I'm recording, and I need to finish recording. And I didn't explain why, because I didn't feel like I needed to. I feel like I'm the type of person that I try not to run on into explaining too much, and I'm just hoping that the person's just not going to ask. Most people are not going to pry. That's something else that I learned. Most people don't pry, and they're like, oh, well, tell me, let me look, you know, or tell me what you're doing. Well, what do you do? You know, most people that I know, and even strangers, are not going to pry, so I'm not going to divulge any more information. So that was it. So he saw me walking around a couple times, a couple rounds around. I saw him and we looked at each other and kind of said hi, nodded at each other again. And he saw that I was recording. So and I didn't capture any of that on camera. Of course I didn't, because I immediately had turned my camera off as soon as I heard Inez, you know? So it was cringeworthy. I was sweating there. And there was another incident at that exact same farmer's market, and this was by a stranger. I was buying some plants from her, and she motioned in to grab at my sling to open it up. And that is like the one time anything like that has ever happened, because most people are very respectful of your space and your body, and you know, but this person was not. And I just I beat her to pulling open the sling, and I opened it. So I took control of it by opening it and letting her glance in and then closing it. And she's like, oh, he's, you know, he's so little and you should be at home resting. And I was like, yeah, I should. So I gave her my money and I was like, bye, you know. So that was the extent of that. But that rarely happens where people want to grab at you or they reach in. I would never do that to somebody, whether I thought it was a doll or a real baby, and especially if I thought it was a real baby. You have to respect people's personal space. So, but not everyone's going to be that way. So that's my story. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and let me know if any of your close encounters or your outing videos or your outing experiences that you've had with your dolls. Have you had any that were uncomfortable? Or maybe you're the type that likes to be really open about it and forthcoming with the information without anybody asking you about it. So, you know, even if people ask me, I don't really divulge more information that I feel comfortable with sharing, and most people are respectful of that. So I hope you guys liked the story. I hope you enjoyed seeing Loïc in his little outfit, and I went ahead and put some shoes on him. I think he looks so cute. So remember to subscribe if you're not subscribed already, and turn on your notifications. That way you will be notified every time I upload a new video. Thanks for watching, guys.